Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. S.P. Sood, retired Associate Professor and Head, Department of Library and Information Science, University of Rajasthan, Jaipur. Today we are discussing module Corporate Authorship in CCC and AACR-2R, Institution and its Organs, under paper Knowledge Organizational Structure, Cataloguing. In module Corporate Authorship in CCC and AACR-2R, Government, we have studied the meaning and definition of corporate body, corporate author, and types of corporate authors, and the rules of choice and rendering of headings of government and its organs according to CCC and AACR-2R. In the present module, the definition, choice and rendering of headings of second type of corporate authorship, that is institution and its organs, are discussed. Objectives of the module. The objectives of the module are as follows: to define institution, to discuss the rules of choice of heading of institution, to discuss the rules of rendering of headings of institution and its various organs. Definition of institution. Dr. S.R. Ranganathan has specifically defined institution in his CCC under rule number AFC23 in two senses. In sense 1, he has defined independent or autonomous corporate body other than a government. It may be created by a government or constituted under a statute or formed voluntarily, either formally or informally. It has or it is intended to have continued existence or functions beyond that merely convening a conference. Sense 2, organ of an institution in sense 1 defined above. AACR-2 does not give any definition of institution. It has to be inferred from the definition of corporate body given in its glossary. Its rule numbers 21.1b1, 21.1b2, 21.4b1, 21.5a, 21.6b1, 21.6b2, 21.6c1, and 21.6c2 deal with the different types of institution. Previously, in ALA code, there was no distinction between society and institution, which was severely criticized by Dr. S.R. Ranganathan and American librarians. Now, in the definition of corporate body, various types enumerated are associations, institutions, business firms, and non-profit enterprises. Here, AACR-2R has failed to explain whether associations, business firms, and non-profit enterprises are institutions or not. In this regard, CCC is very clear and does not give any chance of inconsistency or controversy. Rules of choice of heading. CCC has prescribed the following rules for the choice of heading of institution. Person versus institution. If the name of a person as well as institution both appear on the title page of a book, it creates problem of the choice of heading. To resolve this problem, provisions are prescribed in CCC under rule number GC31 and rule number GC32. CCC rule GC31 prescribes that the work in the document is of corporate authorship if it is a deliberative, legislative, directive, administrative, or routine character limited by the purpose or function or outlook of the corporate body. The mere fact that a document is published, financed, aided, approved, sponsored, or authorized by a corporate body is not sufficient reason to deem the work if to be of corporate authorship and not to be of personal authorship. CCC rule number GC32 prescribes that the work in the document is of personal authorship if its primary function is the extension of the boundary of the field of knowledge or its intensification, and the responsibility for the thought and expression of it rests on the person and not on the office held by him in the corporate body, in spite of this being a paid or an honorary employee or a member of the corporate body. The mere mention of the personal name of an official of the corporate body in the place in which author's name is usually mentioned in a book is not sufficient reason to deem the work in it to be of personal authorship and not to be of corporate authorship. Institution versus government. CCC rule number GD3 prescribes any autonomous or even non-autonomous organization engaged in the work of research, commerce, and supply of commodities and services to the public may have to be taken to be the institutional author. As for example, National Library, India is an organ of Ministry of Education, Government of India, and it will be entered as example. Library in capital letters within bracket National dash second bracket India. Institution versus institution. CCC rule number GD6 prescribes that the criteria to resolve the conflict about authorship between a parent institution or one of its organs on the one side and an autonomous affiliated institution on the other is similar to that for the conflict between a government organ and institution. Documentation Research and Training Center DRTC Bangalore is an organ of Bureau of Indian Standards, but being engaged in the research work and autonomous institution, hence rules of AACR-2R. Works emanating from a corporate body. AACR-2R rule number 21.B2 prescribes that enter a work emanating from one or more corporate bodies under the heading for the appropriate body if it falls into one or more of the following categories. First, those of an administrative nature dealing with the corporate body itself or its internal policies, procedures, finances, and or operations, or its officers, staff, and or membership, as for example, directories, or its resources, for example, catalogs, inventories. Works emanating from a single corporate body. AACR-2R rule number 21.4b1 prescribes to enter a work, a collection of works emanating from one corporate body under the heading for the body. Corporate body lacking a name. AACR rule number 21.5a prescribes that If a work is of unknown or uncertain personal authorship, enter it under title. Shared responsibility, principal responsibility indicated. AACR-2R rule number 21.6b1 prescribes that if in a work of shared responsibility, principal responsibility is attributed to one person or corporate body, enter under the heading for that person or body. If the name of another person or corporate body appears first in the chief source of information, make an added entry under the heading for that person or body. Make added entries under the heading for other persons or bodies involved if there are not more than two or three corporate bodies. Rule number 21.6b2 prescribes that if principal responsibility is attributed to two or three persons or bodies, enter under the heading for the first named of these. Make added entries under the headings for the other. If a work is by two principal persons or corporate bodies and one collaborating person or body, make an added entry also for the third person or body. Shared responsibility, principal responsibility not indicated. AACR rule number 21.6c1 prescribes that if responsibility is shared between two or three persons or bodies and principal responsibility is not attributed to any of them, enter under the heading for one named first. Make added entries for the others. More than three corporate bodies and principal responsibility not indicated. AACR-2R rule number 21.6c2 prescribes that if responsibility is shared among more than three persons or corporate bodies and principal responsibility is not attributed to any one, two, or three, enter under title. Make an added entry under the heading for the first person or corporate body named. Name in shortest form. Rule number JD1 prescribes that the name to be used in rendering the name of an institution is to be the one in the shortest form found in the title page or half title page or any other part of the document. Language of the name of institution. Rule of CCC JD1 prescribes that if the name of the institution occurs in two or more languages, the name in the language occurring earliest in the scale of language of the library is to be used for rendering. Initial articles. Rule JD12 prescribes that in rendering the name of an institution, the initial article is to be omitted. Honorific word. Rule JD13 prescribes that in rendering the name of an institution, every honorific word not forming an inseparable part of the name is to be omitted if found either at the beginning or at the end or in any other position in the name. Numeral at the beginning. CCC rule number JD15 prescribes that in rendering the name of an institution beginning with numeral figure, the numeral is to be spelled out in the language of the rest of the words in the name of institution. Example, 26 January Memorial Library will be rendered as library within bracket 26th January Memorial Dash and not as 26th in figure January Memorial Library. Entry element. Rule JD17 prescribes that the entry element in the name of an institution in the heading of any entity is to consist of the word or word group denoting the subject or any other especially forming the purview of the institution in its singular nominative form. Secondary element. Rule JD171 prescribes that the secondary element in the heading is to consist of the rest of the words occurring in the name of institution written in the sequence of their occurrence in it. Use of dash. Rule JD172 prescribes that if the word or word group forming the entry element occurs in any position other than the first in the name of the institution, its place should be indicated by a dash among the words of the secondary element. Name of a university, etc. CCC rule number JD175 prescribes that provided that Rule 17 is not applicable in the case of the name of a university, college, school, laboratory, library, museum, and any similar traditional institution, the entry element should respectively be university, etc. The secondary element is to be rendered in accordance with rule number JD171. Individualizing element. Rule JD2 prescribes that if the bare name of an institution does not individualize it, the individualizing element to be used for resolving the homonym is to be the term denoting its place if it is a localized institution, country if it has a national status, constitute state, country, district, taluk, etc. if it is a state, country, district, taluk, etc. institution, and headquarters if it cannot be individualized conveniently by any of the terms mentioned in 1, 2, 3 above. Example, University Grants Commission of India will be rendered as University Grants within bracket Commission and again in second bracket India. Second, National Library of India will be rendered as Library within bracket National dash within second bracket India. Year of foundation. Rule JD21 prescribes that if the individualizing element prescribes in rule JD2 and or the presence of the name of a place or a person as an integral part of the name of the institution does not completely resolve the homonym, the year of foundation of the institution is to be used as a second individualizing element. For example, Public Library of Ajmer will be rendered as Library within bracket public dash second bracket Ajmer third bracket 1951. Second example is Library public within bracket dash in second bracket Ajmer in third bracket 1995. Rendering of organ of institution. CCC rule JD3 prescribes that the rendering of the organ of an institution will be on the analogy of organ of government. Example, Cataloguing division of Indian Library Association will be rendered as Library within bracket Indian dash Association, comma, Cataloguing within bracket division. Head of the institution. The rendering of the name of the head of institution used as second heading is to be provided with the name of the occupant of the office as an individualizing element. Vice Chancellor of University of Rajasthan will be rendered as University within bracket of Rajasthan, comma, Vice Chancellor within bracket Iqbal Narayan. Administrative organ. The entry element in the name of an administrative department of an institution is to be the word or the word group denoting its sphere of work. The other words in the name of the administrative department are to be deemed to form secondary element. Example, Hindi department of University of Delhi will be rendered as University within bracket of Delhi, comma, Hindi within bracket Department of Dash. Temporary organ of institution. The entry element in the name of a temporary organ of an institution is to be rendered as that of administrative department. However, the year of formation of temporary organ is to be added as first individualizing element, and the name of its chairman is to be added within circular brackets as second individualizing element. For example, Committee on Agriculture Loan set up by Reserve Bank of India in 1985 under the chairmanship of R. Rajan will be rendered as Bank within bracket Reserve Dash of India, comma, Agricultural Loan within bracket Committee on Dash bracket next bracket 1985 next bracket Chairman colon R. Rajan. Related institutions. Rule JF4 prescribes that the name of an institution is to be rendered as if it were an organ of a parent body or as an independent corporate body. For example, Documentation Research and Training Center DRTC, Bengaluru is an organ of parent body BSI, but it is engaged in research and has an independent status, hence it will be rendered as Documentation Research and Training Center Bengaluru. Joint committees, commission, etc. Rule JD38 prescribes that in the case of common organ set up jointly by two or more institutions, its name is to be preceded by the names of institutions setting it up, and a conjunction is to connect them. It will be rendered as follows. Example, Labor within bracket International Dash Organization and Health within bracket World Dash Organization, comma, Occupational Health within bracket Joint Committee on Dash. Change in the name. Rule JD5 prescribes that change in the name of an institution is looked after by the canon of ascertainability and rules on cross-reference index entry. For example, University of Rajputana is the oldest name of the University of Rajasthan. They will be rendered as University within bracket of Rajputana, C, University within bracket of Rajasthan. Rules of AACR-2R. General Rule. Rule number 24.1a. Enter a corporate body directly under the name by which it is commonly identified, except when the rules that follow provide for entering it under the name of a higher or related body. See rule number 24.13. Change of name. Rule number 24.1c1. If the name of a corporate body has changed, including change from one language to another, establish a new heading under the new name for item appearing under the name. Refer from the old heading to the new and from the new heading to the old. See rule number 26.3c. Example. University of Rajasthan was earlier known as University of Rajputana. The heading will be under the University of Rajasthan and the reference will be prepared as follows. University of Rajputana, see University of Rajasthan. Name of the body in different languages. AACR rule number 24.3A1. If the name appears in different languages, use the form in the official language of the body. If there is more than one official language and one of these is English, use the English form. Example, Canadian Committee on Cataloguing, not Committee Canadian Catalogues. If the English is not one of the official languages or if the official language is not known, use the form in the language used predominantly in items issued by the body. In case of doubt, use the English, French, German, Spanish or Russian form on this order of preference. If there is no form in any of these languages, use the form in the language that comes first in English alphabetic order. Refer from forms in other languages. Language of international bodies. Rule number 24.3b1. If the name of the international body appears in English on item issued by it, use the English form. In other cases, follow the instructions given in rule number 24.3a. Example, Arab League, not Union dash Estates Arabs. Conventional name of body. Rule number 24.3c1. If a body is frequently identified by a conventional form of name in reference sources in its own language, use this conventional name. Westminster Abbey, not Collegiate Church of St. Peter in Westminster. Variant forms of the name of corporate body. AACR-2R rule 24.2b prescribes that if the variant forms of the name are found in items issued by the body, use the name as it appears in the chief source of information as opposed to forms found elsewhere in that items. Use of name of institution as individualizing element. AACR-2R rule number 24.4c7 prescribes that add the name of institution instead of the local place name if the institution's name is commonly associated with the name of the body. Give the name of the institution in the form and language used for is as a heading. Example, Delhi School of Economics within bracket University of Delhi and not Delhi School of Economics within bracket Delhi. Year of foundation as individualizing element. AACR rule number 24.4c8 prescribes that if the name has been used by two or more bodies that cannot be distinguished by place, add the year of founding or the inclusive years or existence. For example, Scientific Society of San Antonio within bracket 1892-1894. Scientific Society of San Antonio, within bracket 1904, dash, omissions of initial articles. AACR-2R Rule 24.5a prescribes that omit an initial article unless the heading is to file under the article. For example, a corporate name that begins with an article that is the first part of the name of a person or place. Example, Library Association, not the Library Association. Omission of citation of owners. AACR Rule number 24.5b1 prescribes to omit a phrase citing an honor or order awarded to the body. For example, Ranganathan Memorial Library, Bengaluru, not Padma Shri Ranganathan Memorial Library, Bengaluru. Subordinate and related bodies entered subordinately. AACR-2R Rule number 24.13a prescribes to enter a subordinate or related body as a subheading of the name of body to which it is following types. Make a direct or indirect subheading as instructed in Rule number 24.14. Type 1. University of Rajasthan. Department of Hindi. Type 2. Indian Library Association. Committee on Public Libraries. Type 3. American Dental Association. Research Institute. Type 4. British Library. Collection Development. Type 5. University of London. School of Pharmacy. Type 6. University of Rajasthan. Library, and the real name of the library is University of Rajasthan Library. Subordinate or indirect subheading. Rule number 24.14a prescribes that enter a body belonging to one or more of the types listed in Rule number 24.13 as a subheading of the lowest element in the hierarchy that is entered under its own name. Omit intervening elements in the hierarchy unless the name of the subordinate or related body has been or is likely to be used by another body entered under the name of the same higher or related body. In that case, interpose the name of the lowest element in the hierarchy that will distinguish between the bodies. Example, Indian Library Association, Technical Services Division, Cataloguing Division, Bylaws Committee will be rendered as Indian Library Association, Cataloguing Section, Bylaws Committee. Joint committees, commissions, etc. AACR Rule number 24.15a prescribes that enter a body made up of representatives of two or more other bodies directly under its own name. Example, Joint Committee on Individual Efficiency in Industry. It is a joint committee of the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research and the Medical Research Council. Omit the names of parent bodies when these occur within or at the end of the name, and if the name of the joint unit is a distinctive without them. Joint Committee on Library Education. The name of the committee is Joint Committee of Indian Library Association and Indian Association of Special Libraries and Information Centers. AACR-2R Rule number 24.15b prescribes that if the parent bodies are entered as subheadings of a common higher body enter the joint unit as a subordinate body as instructed under Rule 24.12 to 24.14. Example: American Library Association joint committee to compile a list of international subscription agents. It is a joint committee of the acquisition and serial sections of the American Library Association Resources and Technical Services Division. References: AACR-2R Rule number 26.3 prescribes to refer from a name used by a body or found in reference sources that is significantly different from that used in heading for that body. Example: Jaipur Museum, not Albert Hall Museum, Jaipur. AACR-2R Rule number 26.3A4 Initials. This rule prescribes that if a heading consists of an initialism or acronym and in the catalog, initials with full stops are filed differently from those without full stops, refer from one form to other, depending on which has been used in the heading. Example: UNESCO, given in the form U.N.E.S.C.O, UNESCO, C, UNESCO treated as one word. In the context of such a catalog, optionally refer from initials without full stops as well as with full stops to a full named used as heading. Example: N.A.T.C, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Second example is NATO, C, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So, students, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. We have learned the definition of institution, rules of choice of headings, and rules of rendering of headings of institution and its various organs according to CCC and AACR-2R. Thank you.